Welcome to the podcast from the Swamp
at Baseball Park, Weiersburg, Germany.
Brought to you by the Solingen Alligators Baseball Club,
Smashing runs since 1991. Dive into Alligators Alley with your hosts Max Michalk and Bruno Römer
as we bring you face to face with the legends of the game.
Former MLB players, active coaches, and many more to come.
It's all right here, folks.
Let's play ball. This episode is brought to you by Branks & Heinrichs, your professional partner for packaging and more, with 150 years of experience and located in Solingen, Germany.
Packaging, protecting, securing. For 150 years with Branks & Heinrich in Solingen and at 10 locations throughout Europe. Also online at verpacken.online. Branks & Heinrich, passion for packaging and for Solingen.
So hello Derrick, thank you for being a part of the fourth episode of The Swamp from the Baseball Park Weiersburg of the Solingen Alligators.
Welcome Derrick.
Thank you, I appreciate being on here and can't wait to talk baseball with you guys.
So, first question's gonna be, you started as a two-sport college athlete. When was the point in your career when you knew baseball is gonna be the future for you?
So when I was drafted in 1986, I was kind of I wanted to do both in college. I mean, was a time where, I had like the Bo Jacksons and the Deion Sanders. It was kind of around that era, but not many people did it. One guy that when I went down to Virginia Tech to visit was Del Curry, was Stephen Curry's dad. And he was a basketball player and a baseball player, and he did both in college. And so that was one of the things that I really wanted to do. And so once I got drafted, I decided to go just play baseball. I mean, it was pretty easy as far as thought process. You have longevity in baseball, whereas football, obviously not as long. But that was probably the main reason why I decided to play baseball.
That's awesome. You had a great major league career, playing for multiple teams in the MLB. So, but after that, you ended up playing in Japan. I myself went to Japan to play semi-professional ball in Fukuoka, so I know a little bit about how baseball is played over there. But to be honest, I never went on to hit like 31 home runs like you did. Before that, your MLB high in 1993 was hitting 10 home runs for the Cubs. So how was that transition and what happened? How did you? What happened in Japanese ball that you hit 21 home runs more?
Well, I was a little bit older. So when I was with the Cubs, I was probably in my early 20s, 23, 24, 25-ish. So I was just developing as a hitter. Towards the end, in Japan, I was more of a more refined hitter, so I kind of knew how to swing, what to hit, what not to hit, that type of thing. So it's like when I was there early in my major league career, I tell people this all the time. It's like, look, I'm up there. I'm trying to figure it out when I'm there, in the big leagues, and the more you play, obviously, the better you get at it. But like I said, I learned more as a coach, of understanding daily preparation, consistency, and all that other stuff that I wish I would have known when I was, 24, 25, so I would have been a whole lot better hitter, I believe. So the final end of my career in Japan, that's kind of where I started to have a better idea of kind of what I needed to do to be successful and hit for more power,
So, like you said, you went on to sign your first professional contract after playing for Virginia Tech. You were a first round pick in the I think it was the 9th pick, right? So how did you think, what is your opinion on college ball? How did it define you and made you ready to sign a pro contract? Because right now we have a German kid playing for the Houston Cougars, I think, which is also a Division I program. And I hope he's declaring for the draft this summer or this year. So how would you say college ball defines you to be ready to go into your professional contract?
Yeah, so I never really went to play college. I signed a scholarship to play football and baseball. And I was drafted at 17 years old. And I came out of high school and just went through the system. And so that's why, basically my visits, everything was predicated on playing both sports, but I signed to Virginia Tech because they allowed me to play baseball and football. But yeah, I signed at 17, it came right out, and that's when I started professionally.
So there's some false news on the internet then, because they said that you played for Virginia Tech. So everybody, you signed a letter of intent? But you never played there, so the infos on the internet are wrong. Everybody don't listen to the internet all the time.
That's right. That's right. It's not always right. It's not 100% right. But yeah, so it's like, that period of time I had so many scholarships and so many offers, but Virginia Tech was where I signed to go play, and the only reason I didn't was because I got drafted number 1. So.
So then I have another question. What were some offers you had from colleges? Also, was your main focus on being drafted or like being signed to college as a 2-sport athlete? Or were there some high-profile colleges that said you either play baseball or football? That would be interesting, I think.
Yes, so that was because I had one of the colleges was Penn State, which Joe Paterno was there, and they had really good football. I think they were either number 1 or number 2 in the country that year. But they didn't. Their baseball team was so-so, wasn't very good. And so I went there because it was Penn State, Joe Paterno, and so I got a scholarship offer there. The next place was Notre Dame, because if you go to Penn State, you got to go to Notre Dame because it's kind of like they're kind of a rival. So they were either number 1. I think they won the national championship that year, and so they were going to allow me to play baseball my second year, not my first year. So that was big. It was kind of a huge thing, but they were going to allow me to do it because they never had players do that. So got to go there, meet Lou Holtz and all that, and just a great atmosphere. And then I went to North Carolina, University of North Carolina. Very good baseball team at that time. Football at that time was so-so, wasn't great, but it wasn't bad. So went to visit there, Tar Heels, went down and saw Brad Daugherty and all those guys at the basketball, Dean Smith, all those guys. And then went to Virginia Tech, kind of went there, saw them, loved the campus, only 4 hours away from my house. Pretty good baseball team I was going to play, and that was huge, And then football was their number 1 recruit in football, so I was going to play there too. So it kind of helped me make my decision because I was going to be able to play. And when you can play as coming in, that makes a big difference, rather than sitting and waiting your turn, and things could happen, and but when you can play, that's the biggest thing, number one thing.
So what was your position playing football?
So they had a position back then in '86. It was a brand new position called a slot back. Now everybody has a slot back. So basically, when I was with Virginia Tech, that was the position I was going to play. Which basically I would touch the ball most of the time, during the offense. I'd either catch it, they'd pitch it to me. They'd basically do whatever. It's almost like not a running back, but I was a wide receiver, tight end type of guy with maybe a running back out of the backfield sometimes. But my position in high school, in main position was linebacker and tight end. But tight end wise, I could split out to a wide receiver because of my speed. I had like 4.5 speed, so I could kind of do both. So they kind of like that too. So I could be either side of the ball. So everybody pretty much liked that part of it. And then baseball, I was outfield or center field. So that was it.
Did you ever was injured hard anytime? Yeah. During making both kind of sports.
No, I actually, in high school, I played I played football, basketball, baseball nonstop for 4 years, even summer ball, everything. Not really, no injuries. I mean, I think one time I came down, this is towards almost the start of tour days in football in the summer, and I was so happy, but I kind of broke the side of my foot. So it would have put me out for like 6 weeks, 4 to 6 weeks. And I was glad because I was going to miss the 2 days. And so I actually missed that, but I came back and it didn't really affect me.
So would you suggest to young players, to play multiple sports instead of just with 10 or 12 years old to focus solely on baseball, for example?
Yeah, I would. For me personally, I would tell them, play different sports, and different sports actually help you play baseball, well too. So it's like football helped me with outfield play. I could run down a ball, and I catch it over my shoulder. And then basketball. My rebound, my jumping ability. I could run down the court. Lead the run, lead the pass, and just stuff like that. So all of them, it kind of helped, round out my game pretty much, which I really enjoyed. But I just think kids would be better off if they could play all sports. Not to mention, it gives them a break from one or the other, from baseball, and gets them to do something else, because you can get tired. I mean, you can get burnt out, if you're doing the same thing over and over and over again, and sometimes it's nice to just have a nice change, and, if it benefits you in the long run, why not be able to do it?
Yeah, that's absolutely true, I think. So now we continue with question number 3. We go back to your inner circle. How was it to have a dad who played in the big leagues, and did that impact your own playing career?
I think it did. Obviously growing up around the sport was huge. Starting, we had no choice. As soon as we kind of got old enough, we had a glove in our hand, we had a ball, we had a bat, we were catching fly balls or whatever. So it was just a huge advantage, and I think that kind of helped with the game. As far as our passion for it or our love for the game. Yeah. So it was just I think it helped a whole lot. To have a dad who played. And I think that I don't think we appreciated it until, obviously later on, but, we can really appreciate it now because, we have sons and, my brother and my sister, we all have sons. And so it makes a huge,
So was there any special situations from you visiting your dad's locker rooms or being at the field all the time? Was there anything you would say that impacted your life or your playing career?
Yeah, I mean, we would run around the stadium, and we would have like different players' sons. Obviously, we would go and we'd play baseball underneath the stadium while the game's going on, right? So it's like, we're paying attention, but it was like we had more fun going to the field because we knew we could play with our friends, who happened to be other players' sons, or to actually go there and watch them, play with them, then watch the actual game. Even though, we got to see the game sometimes. Like we'd have to be up there by the seventh inning. So I can remember one time, and I can remember it's almost clear as day. So I'm sitting there, and they said, now batting, 19 years old, shortstop, Robin Yount. So it was like his first at bat. I was there at his first at bat. So that's how I remember that, because he was, and then he became a Hall of Famer and stuff like that. But like stuff like that along the way, you kind of remember, and it kind of sticks with you.
That's crazy. While we're doing those podcasts, I have to say for everybody in the audience, it's crazy how all of those guys we interview are dropping names that I usually play in MLB The Show. For example, like you did right now, Robin Yount. That's like a total legend, and you drop those names like so easily. So it's pretty crazy. So it would be that's fun.
So just a short question. What teams did your dad manage?
My dad played. He played for Milwaukee, but his first year was with Baltimore. But he was with Baltimore, and he was in the World Series. 69, the 69 Mets and the Baltimore Orioles, that team. And then from Baltimore, he went to Milwaukee, and he was there in Milwaukee for about 4 years, maybe. We were there actually 7, but we lived there 7, but he was there 4. But and he was there, and then he got traded for Hank Aaron to the Braves, and that was an interesting time too, which is something. And then from there, he went to Texas Rangers, and then I think he went back to Milwaukee, and then he went to Pittsburgh. I think he finished with Pittsburgh. But
so coming back to my statement like from 2 minutes ago, dropping names like Robin Yount and now Hank Aaron. I hope everybody in Germany who's listening, you know how we feel right now. Coming to that, the next question's gonna be, to be honest, I can't imagine having family dinners at your family's place. Is there a lot of talk about baseball with you having a brother as a scout for the Blue Jays? And 2 sons who are heavily invested in baseball. One who, at our last checking, was playing for the St. Louis Cardinals organization, and one who is a scout for the Boston Red Sox. And then having a dad who is an ex-MLB player with such an awesome career. So how's family dinner there? You're talking about baseball all the time?
Yeah, so my oldest son was drafted by St. Louis. He didn't sign. He played at Villanova. And so my other son, who was a scout for Boston, he went to Villanova too. So both of them played at Villanova at the same time. But the oldest didn't sign. He just played college. And then the middle one, he played college, and then he actually did a number of things. He was a video he did a video. Was a video guy for the White Sox for a couple of years, and then he was in a Major League Baseball instant replay. He did that for a year or so, and then he was hired by Boston as a scout for I don't know how many years, so 4 or 5 years now. So, but yeah, and then my brother, he's been scouting now for I don't know, it's probably close to 30 years. I would have to say, and the way he started. He was living in Atlanta, and I was already playing, but he played in college a little bit, and he just was trying to figure it out. So he decided he was watching the National League East, and he kind of put together a scouting report on all those guys. So Atlanta has a program for like guys who, up and coming, they want to be involved in baseball. So he kind of sent his resume to them and then the scouting report, and lo and behold, Hank Aaron saw it, and he called him in, right? So, and he's like, he just, they kind of started talking about my dad and stuff like that. So, and that's how he got into baseball. And then next thing you know, he's been doing it for 30 years, almost, probably more than 30 years now. So back to the dinner table stuff. It's interesting. It's kind of like we want to talk about stuff, but then we don't, because it's kind of like it's like, okay, we're talking about our jobs, but it's funny. But we do we some here and there we talk about some trades and maybe some guys who are doing well and who maybe aren't, and stuff like that. It's just kind of little stuff,
So yeah, there's a lot going on in the MLB right now. Me personally, as a San Diego Padres fan, I don't like what's going on because the Dodgers are signing everybody and their grandparents. So what is your perspective on how the MLB is going right now with all those trades to the Dodgers?
And have-nots. I mean, but it is. You're right. I mean, if you have Dodger money, it's just like you can. Same thing with the Yankees or any of like those teams can do it. And does it make it? Does it make it right? I'm sure all teams in major leagues, except for like the Twins or some of those smaller markets. A lot of them are $1 billion businesses, So, they can afford. They obviously they can't afford as much, with the Dodgers like the Padres couldn't. But it's just one of those things. You want to see guys get paid, but then it's like now the competitive balance is kind of changing a little bit, and it's kind of tough. And I think it's something that maybe has to be looked at. But if a player wants to sign with a guy, with the team, what can you do, And then they defer money. Like, I think Shohei Ohtani deferred money for, I don't know how many years.
35 or something.
So, just how creative you can get.
So, do you think we in the MLB as baseball in general need a salary cap like they got in the NBA or NFL?
Don't say that. Well, see, that's why we went on strike in '94 because of the salary cap, which we were like, no. That's one of the reasons we didn't have a World Series, and we didn't want that salary cap, But now it's kind of like, I don't want to say they need it. I'm not going to say that because the money that they're getting, the owners and they're getting money. Obviously, and there's a reason why they're paying guys all that money, But no, I don't think there should be, well, not a cap, but a bottom, put it that way. A floor. If you have a floor where everybody has to like pay a certain amount of money, like they can't be at the $15 million range, and the Yankees are at 100 or 500 million, so like Tampa Bay has to spend at least, 80 million, and so that way it keeps teams like at a, they got to spend money, so maybe it turns into something like that, where there's a floor that, makes teams obviously, have to spend money and has to actually compete. So maybe that probably is a little bit better than the ceiling.
So, Dime, you are a Delaware Sports Hall of Famer 2014, a 2015 Afro-American Hall of Fame inductee, and a 2019 Delaware Sports Hall of Fame inductee. How was that feeling of being such a big influence in a sports, in the state of Delaware where you grew up?
Yeah, I mean, it was nice. I mean, obviously you play, you grow up playing here, and then to be recognized is something that's really nice, by the coaches and the people around you, the people who've seen you play and kind of know you. It's always nice to be, recognized by them. So I was really appreciative with everything.
After your playing career, you started going into coaching. Almost every team you coached in hitting went on to be the best in their league. Any secrets for our German players to become a better hitter?
No, I agree. The thing is, like, I had good players. That's the secret. No, I mean, I just think that we always had guys who, they always worked hard. They didn't think they were too good. Like, basically, they always were striving to get better. And they always, it didn't matter what it was. It just is that they never wanted to basically not play well. It was always like something they came to the field and they always did. They looked to do. They wanted to win. They wanted to work on what they needed to do, and also they wanted to kind of leave everything out there. So, but like I said, I had good players. You can't take a lot of that credit because those guys came in, they got their work in. Man, I couldn't ask for a better group of guys that I had during that 12 year span,
Mm-hmm. Okay, so if you have to select 3 words of your coaching philosophy, what would it be?
I would say, you have to work at what you're doing. You always have to try to get better. So it's be just 3 words. I don't know if
Consistency?
Consistency is definitely one of them. You have to have consistency, confidence. You have to kind of build confidence and not be complacent. those are I can't say one word with it, but yeah, consistency is it says a lot. But yeah, a lot of guys come in and they kind of become complacent in what they're doing, and it's kind of the worst. If there's a saying is, if you're not trying to get better, you're actually going backwards. So it's like you gotta keep trying to move forward. It's like maintaining or trying to improve. Keep maintaining, keep improving. But yeah, that's the only thing you can. Especially in this game, you got to be. There's always somebody coming, somebody behind you.
So when looking at your swing, you were left-handed hitter who was crouching very much with your upper half over the plate and looking at the ball a little bit. I don't want to say sideways, but a little bit like that.
Yeah, because it was more like this, right? Like sideways. Yeah, because I wasn't a guy who could. It was like this was like my dominant eye. So my left eye was so basically when I had to look this way, and I felt that I could read the plate better the way I kind of stood over the plate, and that was just my perspective. When I was more upright, I didn't feel like I could kind of view the pitches as well, like where they would cross. And so, my head was kind of crouched over a little bit more, bent at the waist a little bit more. But, kind of looking back at, like as a coach now, bending at the waist is probably the best position you want to be in because it allows your barrel to get to the zone a little bit easier, So, I don't know. I just kind of went by feel and kind of the way things were. I saw the ball well. I made a whole lot of contact. In the major leagues, I wish I would have hit more homers, but more power. But it is what it is. So, but
and also, yeah.
Sorry. Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Yeah, I was just saying, it's like, at the end of the day, it's like, it wasn't an easy out. You couldn't strike me out. And if you messed up, I could hit a home run off you, and if it was a tough situation, I believed I could come through. So that's kind of the way, it was.
And also with you, if you would have stood more upright, your swing would have looked way too much like, because you had a smooth swing with power if you needed it on the left side, so it would have been too much of a swing like Ken Griffey Jr., I have to say. Because I actually love your swing.
Yeah, I didn't want like 500. I wouldn't want like 500-600 home runs at all.
That would make those family dinners too easy then, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Also, then you went on to coach in Korea. For us, it would be interesting to know what were the main differences you saw in those hitters, and what were those differences from coaching in the U.S. to be in a country like Korea.
Yeah, I think they wanted to. A lot of stuff that they did was kind of like what we did in the States. Obviously they work hard. They're trying to get the barrel to the ball. But I think that I think it was more of trying to refine their approach to hitting. And that was because it's like they were very impatient. Basically, had a lot of the younger, so they would swing earlier in the count at pitches that weren't even close to being strikes, right? So they're kind of almost guessing when they were hitting. So it was more of trying to come up with a plan that they could, take to the plate every day, and kind of, with trying to get on base and trying to score runs and trying to drive the ball, and that's what we were trying to do every time we got out there. So it was more just kind of the approach to what they were doing at the plate, not necessarily their swings, because they can swing the bat. It's just more of what they were trying to hit and when they were trying to hit it, right? So it was just their approach.
Okay, because lately we talked to that was Valentin Bruno. I'm sorry. So and he was talking about the egos in baseball in the US and in Asia, and that the persons in Asia are very respectful. Do you confirm?
Yes, I definitely confirm. That's one of the biggest things that you'll notice is when you go there, it's more very respectful from coaches to players, right? So when you're a coach, it's like, players come up, they're very,
Mm-hmm.
respectful. Older players and younger players, the the older players, obviously the younger players respect the older players, so it's kind of a level of respect that they kind of show. So yeah, it's definitely huge, a lot of respect, you know. So that's what you gotta appreciate about there too. So
All right. So we continue with question number 7. Was there ever one player you told your son, he's the scouting or the scout for the Red Sox, right? To go after them or to stay away from one player? Yes or no?
no, I let him do his job. he did his job. I don't interfere in that stuff, you know. Now my brother maybe, you know, but.
So we will not have a story like Trouble with the Curve.
Yes, but like my brother, he was like the major league scout, so a lot of the players that he knew, like I knew, because I, you know, came through the system and I coached in the big leagues with him and stuff like that. So he'd ask me about some of those guys, which, you know, I really had a lot, like Colton Wong, like Randall Grichuk and guys like that. So they were really good guys. So yeah, I mean, I would talk about those guys or even some of the other guys. But there's a lot. But he was the only one I would talk to about them. My son, I let him do his job. So.
Okay, all right.
So was there any time we don't need names? If you would drop one, that would be awesome. Where you said to your brother, "Hey, that guy, don't pick him up."
No, I don't. I never said that, but I wouldn't say it anyway. So, yeah, no. I mean, that's kind of like, you know, you don't want to. You know, the thing is, like, you know, the game is so. Baseball's kind of a small group, and people kind of they'll figure it out, you know, in a while. So.
Okay.
I don't want to.
It would worth a try.
Yeah, most of my players I like, so I don't say too much negative stuff.
All right. So next question: have you ever been stuck in a slump?
Yeah. I mean, it was there's a couple times, and the first time I ever was in the minor leagues, and I was. This was actually in Peoria, so I was like supposed to be this. You know, I was the number 1 pick the first round pick the year before, and you know, here I'm in this league, in the Midwest League, and I'm supposed to do well, and I'm not hitting. I'm only hitting like 120 in June, with with no homers, 0 home runs, and in June. So they're trying to figure out, should we send him down, or and I'm thinking, should I go play football, or so. And my manager was Jim Tracy. I don't know if that's another manager. So, and he was that was his first year of managing, and so. And I don't know what it was. He was like, let's go out and start playing. You know, let's go. Came early every day, kept working, and like finished that year like 298 with like 9 home runs. And so it was like the biggest slump was like it was in almost a 2-month slump. And then I got out of it, and I was like in the top 10, the top, you know, in hitting. So that was the first one, and so that one gave me a lot of confidence. So whenever I got in a slump, like I always kind of look back to that, you know, just kind of taking one day at a time, you know, one pitch, and so that kind of helped me. So a couple years later, I get to the big leagues, and 92, and we're kind of going back, and it's like me and Jerome Walton are kind of playing left field. We're trying to figure it out. They're trying to figure out who's going to be the left fielder, and so I'm hitting like And like I swear it was like 120 another time in the big leagues. I had like one homer, not even. Yeah, I don't even think I had a homer. And so we're going back and forth, and then it was like Father's Day, and we get to like Veterans Stadium, which is Philadelphia. It's like right up the street, and they throw me in there because there's a right-handed pitcher, and I hit 2 home runs. I hit like five RBIs, and then they're like, "Oh, okay, well then let's go throw him out there again." So then the next one is the lefty Terry Mulholland's pitching. Hit a home run off of him, so that's like 3 homers in like 2 days, and had like 3 RBIs. So it's like by the time that series over, I had like almost like 10 RBIs and like 4 home runs. So it was kind of like, but then I finished, like at 270 something with 8 homers. So I got out of that slump, just by one is going back to my. Thinking about the last slump I was in and kind of how I got out of that. And that helped me kind of have the confidence, kind of to get out of that one. So that kind of helped me. And that's kind of the way I kind of looked at every time I wasn't hitting, I could always pull from what I did in the past, right? So.
Okay, so when one of our younger guys get into a slump for the very first time, does not have the confidence to get to think about and know how it is. What would you tell that young person?
The first one I'd say is breathe. Like a lot of times what happens is everything's speeding up on them because they kind of make things bigger than it is, like, so they kind of keep looking ahead and ahead and ahead and ahead. And like, if I go over here, and then I kind of look ahead. And then don't look too far behind. So it's always kind of trying to keep that perspective of kind of stand like in the moment today. And what can you do today? And, I always don't get ahead of yourself. That's another one. Like breathe, don't get ahead of yourself. And another one is always believe that even if I took my worst swing, I could still get ahead. Even if you did, because it doesn't really matter. Like even you can take your best swing, and you won't get a hit. Like so, it's just more of having the confidence of saying, "Hey, listen, gonna go out there, show up, breathe, stay in the moment, see the ball, and then that's it. Nothing you can really do about that afterwards." But,
yeah. So also you're a big guy of posting inspirational stuff on Instagram, for example, which I love. So right now, right here, we're gonna put your Instagram link for the young guys in the show notes. So if you ever want to see some inspirational baseball talk, go to Derrick's Instagram page. It's awesome. I look at that a lot.
Yeah, I used to do that in when I coached. Every day I have a quote down the bottom because it's you never know kind of what's going to hit, like touch somebody or kind of what they're thinking about that day, and sometimes it helps. It helps a lot sometimes. So I've always liked doing it, and I always appreciate it. I think I got that from one of my coaches, I believe, and I kind of just carry it with me.
I love that. So the next question would be, what are your plans in your future in baseball, and are there any chances to get some of your knowledge here to Germany for us German or European players?
It's what I do now. I am the director of the baseball division for it's a sports company. It's a sports group, and we're just basically trying to get baseball players an opportunity, so a lot of guys have been overlooked, and they just haven't got the opportunity. And it's just my job trying to get them opportunities in the States, abroad, wherever I can, So that's basically what we're trying to do. So in that aspect, maybe, maybe we'll have a few players over in Germany with you guys. But I'm also the hitting coach in the Mexican League now, so I just signed with them, and so it's the team called Campeche Pirates, which is done by the Yucatan. So we'll be playing in the Mexican League this summer. We're coaching, but hopefully have a lot of fun. Hopefully we'll win a whole lot. So looking forward to it.
So what? Of course. So was that you start this season, or did you already did it last year when Trevor Bauer was there?
Yeah, no, it's this season coming up. That would have been interesting. I find him interesting in a way because he's really animated and he talks a whole lot. So it's just kind of like to hear his thought process. It's funny.
Would be interesting.
So you just mentioned a little bit in the question before. We're gonna dive deeper into it. As you mentioned, you're the director of the baseball division for the Rise Above Sports Group. What are your tasks there, and what are some accomplishments you had with this organization?
Yeah, my task is to get people signed, to teams, like I said, here or abroad. And we're just trying to look for players who kind of can play and trying to get them on the team. And so basically what we started to do is we actually started a partnership with another, it's like a league. It's just starting, so we're trying to get where guys can actually play and be seen, right? Because a lot of times with players, they're not able to get out in front of people. So we kind of partner with this league that's starting in Houston, where they have like 4 teams. They're gonna have 4 teams, and they're gonna have players playing a couple weeks. Hopefully, it'll be a little longer than that. Hopefully, in the 50 game range, later on. But it'll be a couple weeks where the guys come, they're playing, basically a schedule for 3 weeks. It's actually 18 game schedule, stats, all the stuff that you need, video, streaming, all that stuff. And then the championship at the end, and then there's like a pool at the end where, players get get money. But the whole idea is just that they can, play, and hopefully somebody can come see them, and the scout watches them and they like a guy or like 2 guys, or, whoever it is. But it's our job trying to get them in front of people.
Okay, I understand. In Germany, we started to go to the elementary school to face the little ones to get it into our baseball club. Now, or a few years going on, we recognize that at that age, all of the other clubs, if it's soccer or any other thing, they already into something. So we now need to go to the kindergarten to pick him earlier, to get him earlier. How is it in the US? Do the big organizations or baseball clubs do anything in that kind of stuff, or is it like really normal for America that they are playing football, baseball, and ice hockey, I guess? And please tell us something about that.
Yeah, it's pretty normal for kids. Like they get at a certain age where they're playing t-ball or they're playing coach pitch, or it's kind of, we have the little league system we have, that type of system. So, Major League Baseball kind of, it's involved, but it's kind of in the background because everybody kind of knows you have to kind of play somewhere. But, I just think that because we have all that kind of already established, that the T-ball stuff and the teams, and like Phillies, do they have a team, like a little team that kind of, they don't really have that, but every team, little league team has a Phillies, has a Phillies, team, like, you know what I mean? So it's not like they have to have that kind of system to go up to, you know what I mean? Yours might be a little different because, you kind of, it's like something that you kind of, trying to get in, kind of build up. But like, so Major League Baseball is different. Like soccer now, like we have the union, so Philadelphia Union. So they start, like what you're talking about, is they have 4 years old, then they have the 6-year-old, then they have the 8, so their division, and they're sponsored. They sponsor that. And by the time they're in, 10, 12 years old, they're already almost, kind of playing in their system in a way. But but no, I can understand kind of what you're talking about. But here, we already have that kind of everything built into like Little League and now Ripken. We have all that stuff, so you'll be seeing.
So I think it would be awesome if the Rise Above Baseball sports group will maybe branch out to Europe, because we have a couple of guys that are playing in our first division right now, who played for AAA organizations. Right now we have, for example, Marco Solbach. He was a great pitcher for the Dodgers organization. Then we have Sven Schüller, who also played for the Dodgers organization in AAA, and some other guys who play in lower divisions. I would love to one day see some players coming from Germany through the Rise Above Baseball sports group to playing on to some professional stuff, and then they're gonna say, hey, we came to that while listening to our podcast. So that would be a great story, I think.
Definitely, for sure. I mean, if we could sign those guys, we definitely would. If they play AAA and all that stuff, yeah, definitely. We do have basketball. Rise Above Sports Group, it does have basketball. Probably more basketball heavy than baseball because we're just kind of starting that part of it. But yeah, we'd love to have guys if they want to sign with us and try to get them playing somewhere, if they're not.
So if you ever want to branch out to Europe, I think right now is a good time because we're cheap and because we want to get to do stuff. Also talking about spreading the game and talking about the love of the game. You're a big part in the Baseball Coaches Network, which also we're gonna link right now, which is linked in the show notes. Why do you think it's so important to get coaches together? And is there any way, for example, for maybe German coaches or European coaches to join this network and get stuff out of that?
Yeah, I mean, the reason I started it was because I just wanted to have a place where, people who really were trying to help the game or even just love the game of baseball, right? So not something negative. It should be only a positive, space where you can go see a guy who's talking about his mechanics, or like throwing mechanics, or maybe it's whatever it is, like something with mental health or something like that that's going to help players get better, right? So it's what kind of space it is. It's not a place where I want to see anything negative, because ultimately I have the approval. But I try to make everything positive on there where it actually helps players or helps coaches get better, So it's like more of trying to help like a scout, maybe he's improved his ability, or like I said, like I said, a coach improve his ability to coach a little better, or whatever it is. Maybe it's maybe it's fielding, maybe it's it's outfield, maybe it's something, but it's going to help. It's to help those guys, and maybe it is like, maybe I do post about jobs sometimes, and maybe it is. Maybe I help a guy get a job. Maybe it's a scouting job available, and I post it and he gets it. Who knows? But it's more of a positive part of trying to help players and help coaches, and just a good positive part.
So I got 2 more questions before we can start the rapid fire round. I think if Bruno has any more, he can just jump into it. So one of my questions is, thanks to Duke Dickerson, we are going to try to get a coaches convention, or let's call them the European baseball winter meetings or something like that, in Germany, in Solingen, in November of this year. So is there any chance that we will have Derrick May in Germany at that time, talking about how to promote the game and everything you just said in this awesome podcast right now? Is there any chance to get you as a speaker for that conference? It's gonna be in at the same time, or maybe at the same time when the MLB winter meetings are, so in November. So that's a good answer. Thank you for that. So and also, you've been part of the Philadelphia Phillies organization. We now have a German guy playing for the Phillies starting this year. His name is Max Kepler. He played a long time for the Minnesota Twins, had an awesome career there. Was a little bit injured sometimes, but now with the team of the Phillies. Are there, for you personally, any... wait a second. Is there anything you still have to do with the Phillies, and what do you think there is still on the table for Max Kepler in his late career now?
I mean, I don't have anything to do with the Phillies. I just kind of, I might see like a couple teammates, and but I mean, as far as with him at this stage, I mean, he still can hit. So I think, especially if he's going to come off the bench or whatever he's going to do. I don't know what their plans are, but, it's just kind of, if there's something that happens and he falls into a spot and he gets an opportunity, you never know what can happen, So, I mean, he's a veteran player, and what can you do from there? I mean, but there's not much. I mean, just waiting for an opportunity, but, hopefully he's in the right spot at the right time and he gets that opportunity. So
before we ask you that question, you already knew about Max Kepler.
Oh yeah.
Because in Germany we somehow were not able to capture this Dirk Nowitzki NBA Germany moment for Max Kepler, because he's got a long-standing career now, and he could have been the Dirk Nowitzki of German baseball.
Sure.
But we didn't get the hang of that.
Yeah, no, he's a really good player. Really good player.
Awesome. Thank you for your input on that. So to end off this interview, we would start with the rapid fire round. So those are some questions we need you to answer honestly and quick, if that's possible. Bruno.
Yes.
Are we gonna ask those questions one, and then you two, and me three, and stuff like that?
Yes. Let's do it like that.
Awesome. You want to start, Bruno?
I'm gonna start. So, Dime, first one, a good old bratwurst or a good old hot dog?
Oh, bratwurst. Definitely brat.
Great.
So next question, number 2, is gonna be European football or the football that's not even played with your feet?
Football, not with my feet. Definitely my football.
Okay, Japanese baseball style or American baseball style?
I still go with American. Still go with American style.
Question number 4. In a short sentence, what was your favorite moment in the MLB in your career?
Opening day. It's first time being in the opening day lineup.
And the last one, a home run or a single?
A home run, definitely.
Great.
Nothing
nice.
like a home run now. I mean, it can singles or you can get those all the time, but I didn't get too many home runs, so I love that one.
Perfect.
So with that, we're gonna round off the interview and the 4th episode of our podcast, The Swamp. Thank you, Derrick, for being a part of this podcast and starting us off with our first season of getting baseball and the love for the game spread here in Europe and especially Germany. Thank you very, very much for that.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys having me, and like I said, I appreciate everything you guys are doing, and just let me know about the winter meetings in Germany. I'll be there.
Perfect.
Awesome. We're looking forward to that.
Yeah, really. Also from my side, thank you very much for being part of the podcast. Also including Duke Dickerson, a shout out. Thank you for inviting Derrick May